The world is now divided into three camps. The first camp, which is the largest, contains the people who are terrified and who think lockdowns are a great idea. They honestly believe that if we don't all stay indoors and shut the windows, then the plague's going to kill us. Some worry about the lockdown ending and believe that everyone should stay locked in forever, or until the scientists can confirm that either the last bug has been killed or they've got a really nice, safe, effective jab they can give us. This camp includes those trade union leaders who are insisting that their members will not go back to work until they've all been equipped with the full regalia: gowns, hats, masks, goggles, gloves, white rubber boots, special socks. Moreover, they insist that their members must be kept 6 feet away from one another at all times. And the camp includes those parents who say they won't let their children go back to school if and when the schools eventually reopen. The ones who want the lockdown to continue are consumed by terror, and they believe everything the politicians say. They would, I fear, happily drink the deadly Kool-Aid if they were told it would keep them safe. These are the folk who will enthusiastically sell their privacy, their remaining freedom, and their souls, and enthusiastically sign up for the privacy-eating mobile phone apps and whatever jabs are on sale. I'm not mocking. I understand why these people feel the way they do. They've been terrified out of their wits by ruthless professionals bombarding them with a potent mix of pseudoscience and scare stories, and with exaggeration and misdirection. There's much talk these days of conspiracies and fake news. Well, believe me, in my opinion, no nutty website produces as much misleading news as the BBC. I know of nothing as institutionally biased as the BBC. Yesterday on the BBC website there was a story that the coronavirus has now infected 4 million people around the world. To the ignorant, this probably seems a huge and frightening number. But no one bothered to point out that the flu can infect 45 million people in America alone in 1 year. And those 45 million people, let us remember, are all ill enough to go to their doctors. The figure for flu throughout the world is one of those huge numbers that looks like the American debt. But in 1 year, 10 times as many, in 1 year, 10 times as many people in America can get the flu as now have the coronavirus worldwide. Those are proper facts, and that's called putting things into perspective. Here's another good fact. Between the middle of March and the middle of April in 2019, there were in New York State around 13,000 deaths from heart disease, cancer, flu, strokes, murders, accidents, and so on. In the same period in 2020, the number of deaths from all those diseases came to less than 5,000. That's just a bit more than a third. But there were a lot of deaths from COVID-19. How can this be? Have doctors in New York suddenly and secretly found secret wonderful cures for cancer and heart disease and everything else? Or am I being unduly cynical in wondering if it's possible that a lot of people who really died of something else have been officially listed as having died of or with the coronavirus? That's been my suspicion for many weeks now. And there's been lots of other evidence to support that. The statistics are bad enough, but the thing that really infuriates me is that no one in authority seems to care that real people are suffering because of these stupid policies. In newspapers and on TV, we've been exposed to a lot of pictures of people who tragically died with the coronavirus and a few who died of it. But we haven't had any pictures of the people with cancer or heart disease or whatever else who are going to die because their treatment's been stopped. There are lots of people who are going to die sooner than they should because their treatment has been halted. Their pictures won't appear on the TV or in the tabloids, and there are already at least 10 times as many people in this category as there are in the COVID-19 category. In the UK, the evidence shows that the hospitals in many parts of the country are half empty, And those doctors and nurses not dealing with coronavirus patients are standing around wondering where all the patients went. Please don't bother reaching for the thumbs down button, because it's true, and attacking me isn't going to change the truth. Politicians are enjoying their new power, and I'm afraid they don't give a damn about you and me. If this false crisis ever ends, waiting lists for urgent surgery are going to be years long. Millions will be waiting for life-saving surgery, radiotherapy and so on. Doctors and nurses know this is happening, and they don't want it to happen. But they're doing what they're told to do by the moronic advisors and bureaucrats and politicians who probably goose-step to work every morning. And as a few Germans discovered 75 years ago, it isn't enough to say, I was doing just what I was told to do. Doctors and nurses should stand up and speak out. I know it may endanger careers. I buggered up my career long ago by speaking out. But this is far more important than anyone's career. And when the time comes to decide who screwed up and who's responsible for hundreds of thousands of unnecessary deaths, the politicians and the bureaucrats will disappear and wriggle out of the responsibility. It'll be the doctors and nurses who allowed all this to happen, who'll be the ones to pay the price in their souls, if nowhere else. Despite all this, however, there are still millions of people who believe in the lockdowns and the social distancing. They're terrified out of their wits, and they're frozen in obedience. The second camp is the smallest of the three. It consists of people who believe that the coronavirus scare has been wildly oversold. They realise it's a nasty infectious bug, but having studied the real evidence, or at least as much of it as can be found, rather than the fake evidence dished up by bent and unscrupulous politicians and the headline-hunting media folk, they realise that the coronavirus is no more lethal or destructive than a nasty flu bug, and probably not as bad as the worst flu bugs. The people in this camp are furious at the way the world has been damn near destroyed for no good reason. They know that the whole terrible mess is too stupid to be a cock-up, so they're reluctantly coming round to the idea that it's a conspiracy to take away their freedom, their democracy and free speech, to give a bunch of unimaginative dictators the excuse to introduce oppressive and scary laws that wouldn't have been out of place in Stalin's Russia and Hitler's Germany. They suspect that there is money behind what's happening, and they rather fear that if someone found a cheap, safe cure, then it would be demonized and banned until an expensive, patented cure could be found and made available at great profit. If you think I'm being unduly cynical, then that's because you haven't been writing about the drug industry for half a century. In the third group, which is the second largest group, are the people who don't quite know what to think, or who don't have the courage to face the facts. They prefer to let someone else worry and take all the responsibility. They see their country being destroyed, but they can't quite find the time to look at the evidence or the courage to question the decisions being made. They're terrified about the future because they can see that the way things are being run, there probably isn't a future. They know that today's children are going to be spending their lives impoverished, working hard to pay off the debts incurred as a result of this lockdown lunacy. They know that people with cancer and other serious diseases are dying because they've been abandoned by healthcare chiefs. But they don't feel they can support one side or the other just yet. They stand outside at the appropriate times and clap the healthcare workers, but their hearts probably aren't really in it. It's the people in this third group that I honestly can't understand. This is a crucial time. It affects our lives now and for the foreseeable future. Generations ahead are going to be affected by what we do now. The basic question is, are we fighting a virus or are we fighting our governments? It's not a question anyone can ignore. Everyone has to take sides. If you decide that the politicians are being honest and that their advisors are entirely competent and accurate, then you can put yourself in the first camp and just pray that you'll be saved by the mathematicians with their models and the politicians with their threats, and hope that the alleged plague doesn't kill you and your loved ones. But if you think that the politicians are lying in the way that they always do, and that the advisors are plucking figures out of thin air, or that for whatever reason the figures are being manipulated and the lockdowns are going to do far more harm than good, then you're spiritually in the second camp, and you should do everything you can to fight for freedom and for our future. You should fight and fight and fight, because if you don't, then we're all sunk. I firmly believe that our only hope is to convert as many people as possible from the third group and to persuade them to join the second group. Only when the skeptics outnumber the gullible will any of us have any sort of future. Thank you for watching and listening. Actually, the listening's far more important than the watching, because who wants to look at an old bloke in a chair? I'm one of the disposable generation. And thank you to all of those who've left kind comments. Bless you. Please subscribe to this channel, and please share this video with as many people as you can. I really believe this is so important. Take care and be kind to one another. The bastards can't take that away from us.